Welcome to the Juice Box with Juice Springsteen, covering the week that was in professional wrestling. Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the 100th episode of the Juice Box. I am Juice Springsteen, and this is the Bash in Berlin PLE prediction show featuring Josh Isenberg, who joined me to discuss Bash in Berlin, a little bit of a Remembering Psycho Sid segment. We go off the rails and talk about World Championships and book WrestleMania next year and a lot of other stuff. And by the end of the episode, I actually had forgot and only brought up then that it was the 100th episode, so I wanted to do a quick little intro here just to do what I normally do and then give some thanks real quick. But as always, follow me on Twitter at JuicySteen, Instagram at Juicy Wrestling Closet. You can listen to this show on juicysteen.podbean.com, on Spotify, Apple, via iTunes, Amazon Music, and wherever else you get podcasts, of course, on YouTube via the RSS feed at Juicy Steen. But yeah, man, 100 episodes of this show. I'm thrilled that we got this far. And, you know, I started the show in January of 2023. I just wanted to do my own show. I didn't really want to start with any co-hosts or anything. And that's not a detriment to any of the people that have been on the show that have co-hosted or have been guests on the show, because you know, they do a great job. It's just I wanted to be the one responsible for whether the show continued or not, no matter what. And, you know, with the help of a lot of people, we've gone from January of 2023 to now without missing 1 week of new content. Every single week there's something new for everybody to enjoy. So I'm just going to list a bunch of people here that have been on. I mean, we had the SIP series with the Rev, Ron Hunt, Wrestling for Sale, Tim from the Yeah Revolution, Josh Taylor from KDKA, of course, and we also did the retrospective on Sting, Brian Ghoulish, and then we got, you know, all the mainstays. We've got LeBar, Isenberg, of course, those guys. I would not be here and doing this show without them. Josh Cross, Donnie, doing Triple Threat Theater. We have Brian and Jay, who do Main Event Maniacs, a couple of new episodes coming in September. And we just did a show with Loper and Lucas, L Squared, doing the all-in predictions. So that was really cool to have those two guys for that show. And also thanks to Extra Cooler, Brad Martin helping me out with the logo. And then Around the Mat and the Apron Bump for having me on as guests during this run so far. You know, I'm going to be doing more, engaging with more podcasts out there and having more guests on, of course. And a big shout out to Matt Presto for doing the intro for not only Main Event Maniacs, but for Triple Threat Theater, and of course being probably the number one supporter of the Juice Box. So without Matt, there is no Juice Springsteen, I think, in the grand scheme of things. So thanks to all of you guys. I know it's kind of corny to do all that, but it's the 100th episode, and I won't do it for 200 or 300 or however long this show continues to go for. But this is indeed a milestone, and I wanted to celebrate by kind of discussing that with you guys. But enough with the rah-rah, the gaga. Let's go to Bash in Berlin, the PLE prediction show with yours truly and Josh Isenberg right here on the Juice Box. Welcome, everybody. This is another special edition of the Juice Box. Here we have the PLE prediction show for the Bash in Berlin PLE taking place, you guessed it, Berlin in Germany at the Uber Arena. Pretty interesting, not the Lyft Arena. But this is one of the, you know, big international shows that WWE has been putting on in the last couple of years. And for this PLE prediction show, it is none other than Josh Isenberg joining me for this. Josh, how are you doing, man?
I am doing wonderful, Juice. Ready to dive in for some Bash in Berlin. Exciting card. I do have a little problem that I want to bring up whenever you would like me to bring it up. But Nonetheless,
Is it
5
is
matches. We always like those short cards, and I'm excited to see what happens with some really interesting matches.
is it in regards to this show?
It's in regards to this show, and it's in regards to the past couple of months of WWE programming. Do you want me just to dive right into it to start off hot?
Um, uh, no, because I wanted to ask your opinion real quick on something before we
Go
can
ahead.
dive in. Is that okay?
Absolutely. It's your
I
show.
just that's great. I just wanted your thoughts on the recent passing of Sid Vicious, Sid Justice, Psycho Sid.
Yeah.
It recently happened, and I mean, we recently had Alpha and Sika both pass away, the Wild Samoans, and that was
Mhm.
pretty tough. But those guys were a little bit older. Almost serendipitous how within weeks apart that they passed. But Psycho Sid, pretty, no one really knew that he was dealing with cancer
Yeah.
at this stage, and passed away. I think 63 years of age. That's so young these days, but
Mhm.
one of the best big men I think in pro wrestling history. I just like to get your thoughts on Psycho Sid. You remembering him throughout the 90s.
Yeah, I mean, I loved his entire appeal. I think he was a big guy that could work, but knew he didn't need to, put on a 5-star match. I always remember the blue tights, those blue like satin colored tights that just for some reason was a perfect fit for him, a perfect fit for his persona. I loved, a lot of what he did. Obviously, competing in the main event of WrestleMania 8 and 13, I believe.
Yeah, yeah, against Hogan and Undertaker, two of the biggest
Exactly. Two,
stars ever. Like
two
that's
big names. Yeah. I want to see an A&E bio on him because I think there's so much about him outside of the ring that we probably don't know. A guy
yeah,
from Arkansas, 6'9", big boy. He had everything.
yeah,
He had
sure,
the look. He had the aura around him when he stepped into the ring or stepped into an arena, passed the eye test at the airport. I think he's always going to be an underrated big guy. And I don't really know why. I think it's because, the injury cut himself short. The broken leg was always, one of the most gruesome things that you've seen. But overall, I put him, in the top 5, maybe top 10 of big guys ever in pro wrestling. And big guys, I'm meaning, 300-pound plus guys, 6'8", 6'9". But, he would translate, I think, to any era in pro wrestling just based on his pure physicality, his pure size. And as weird as it was, he was pretty much a bad guy, but it was always likable. And that's kind of hard to do back in the day whenever it was clear cut.
yeah.
You have to boo for this guy or cheer for that guy.
I agree with that, man. Like I would say at least top 10 of big guys. The fact that he main evented 2 WrestleManias against 2 of the most legendary guys in the business is really saying a lot. And yeah, like the cool heel really
Yeah.
kind of was around this time where maybe it started to change. And a guy like Psycho Sid, you couldn't deny that he was just there. The kids say aura about
Yep.
him, and I never really knew what it was. He
Yeah.
was jacked, but he was tall. He had a weird look to him, like just the build. He was just a huge, tall guy that looked chiseled.
Yep.
And he had like I always say like the ramen noodle hair.
Mm-hmm.
But I love that. Like it was just such a unique look. And people can complain or make fun of his promo work, but I thought he was always very intense, and that kind of lent itself to mistakes, and that was a part of it. Like, are you really gonna tell Psycho Sid, you made a big mistake? No, like, it's just one of those things that I think kind of gave a charm to him. And latter stage of WCW, when he's stomping around on his car that got put in the compactor by Goldberg, like stuff like that. Like that's really funny stuff. And I really did enjoy when he came back at Raw during
Yep.
the Raw 1000 run up there when he took out Heath Slater. Him and Vader, a couple of big guys that are no longer with us.
Yep.
And, again, another talent that was a legendary talent, not in the WWE Hall of Fame before they passed. And it's just really frustrating that
Yeah.
is the case. And I'm hoping that, how many more of these cases have to, come out before we realize, hey, maybe we should start finding some of these guys and figuring out, hey, are you good? Like, just to me, like Lex Luger.
Yeah.
You've seen his health. You see where it's at. I'm not saying he's in any bad shape compared to, where Sid could have possibly been or what have you. But it's like if not now, when? Like, why wait? So,
yeah,
but
I agree.
But definitely a legend. So sorely missed will be Psycho Sid. But Bash in Berlin, this is another classic 5-match card for a Triple H PLE. Some are complaining. I did see a recent Twitter post that kind of blew up being like, hey, are you a fan of these smaller cards? Because WWE seems to not only like the 5-match, 6-match PLE internationally, but it gives them a chance to put some solid matches before on SmackDown or after on Raw if they're in similar cities. So I kind of like it. You and I have discussed this at length, where it's quick, it's concise, and you really get the best of both worlds here. What say you?
Yeah, I agree. I think so here's my biggest problem, and it goes with the combination of the match card. Not everybody not everybody getting a match on the card, which I get. I like the short cards, but why in the hell is Monday Night Raw's most over babyface not appearing on any of these international PLEs? Where the hell is Jey Uso? Jey Uso wasn't on SummerSlam. Nope. Jey Uso's involved in an Intercontinental Championship tournament, right now, which if he doesn't win that and then beat Braun Breaker, then what's the point of having him in that tournament? Because the story ever since he came to Monday Night Raw was him searching for his first singles championship, and I don't think he was the right guy to beat Gunther. I didn't think Sami Zayn was the right guy to beat Gunther. I don't know if I had a guy that was the right guy to beat Gunther, but my problem is you're not even having this guy on massive premium live events, and he's easily the most over person on Monday Night Raw. For me, if you're slow playing him as a return to the bloodline, then don't put him on TV at all chasing a mid-card title. Have a storyline of some sort to take him out for 3 months instead of him popping up. I mean, aside from him being in the Money in the Bank ladder match, he hasn't had a singles match on PLE since WrestleMania, and that was a forgettable match with Jey Uso, unfortunately cut to timing, which he said. It just doesn't make sense to me. That's like saying, in my mind right now, that's like saying, you know what? We're not going to put Cody Rhodes on the premium live event. He's that much over on Monday night. Yeah. What is the deal with Jey Uso not on a PLE? It's just frustrating, So that's my gripe. Yeah, but that's just my gripe. I think the only real gripe that I have about those short cards is you're not utilizing a guy like Jey Uso every month, which is just mind blowing to me.
Right, and how many different times is just his entrance celebrated by the entire rest of the card? Like, main event Jey Uso's are arguably the biggest piece of that character is his entrance right now.
Yep,
and even if you don't. You could have him. I mean, you could have him come out and cut a promo. There's something you could do with him. Something to get him out there, get the moment, get the yeet and the fireflies. And I think that's all like something to capitalize on when you go and do these international PLEs. Because if you ask those fans that are going to be there, who would you most like to see? I would wager a lot of those fans would say Jey Uso, and they're not going to get Jey Uso.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's strange. I don't know.
I don't know why that is. And I mean, look, he could get into that IC title match, but I don't think he's going to win it. I think he probably, like you said, he'll probably go away for a while somehow. Maybe he gets the match with Braun Breaker, but Braun Breaker sends him into the stratosphere, and then he comes back for the bloodline.
Yeah, and I think that match would be probably a Bad Blood in Atlanta based on the timing. I think 2 weeks is the number one contendership, and then you go to the first week of October. So I think that plays out well for that being a match at Bad Blood. If he ends up winning, which I think he will. So anyway, enough with the people not on the card, Juice. We got 5 matches to dive into. Right. So which one are you going to serve me up first?
I'm going to serve you up the one that I'm not saying it shouldn't be on the card, but I don't know how you couldn't have found Jey Uso on this card instead of this, because this has no heat to it, no yeet to it. The Unholy Union. Tell me when they came up with that name. Pure Fusion Collective. All these names. What is happening? Who? The Terror Twins is fine. That's fine.
Yep.
The Unholy Union. I don't know what that. New Catch Republic.
Ugh.
What? Pure
No
Fusion
catch
Collective.
club. How many catches are there?
It's just like, oh, we have a bunch of groups. Oh, we got to give them a name. Oh, we have nothing. Oh, God.
They stink. The names stink.
Oh, God. There's 3 minutes left. So the Alba Fire and Isla Dawn, who are the women's tag champions, taking on Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill. This kind of got thrown in very last minute, even though this podcast is airing pretty last minute to the show. But neither here nor there. Do you see Bianca and Jade reclaiming these titles? And if not, is this finally some sort of beginning of a fray between Bianca and Jade?
I want to say yes, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure how they go about this. Maybe there's an accidental kick from Jade to Bianca, or maybe Bianca, hits Jade on accident for the Unholy Union to win. But if I want Bianca and Jade to be tag team champions again, they got to have credible opponents. And Pure Fusion Collection could be good, but they just lost. Caden and Katana, not really interesting to me in terms of challengers. So my problem is there's nobody for Jade and Bianca to feud that would make you think for a second that they could actually beat them. And do we think that Jade and Bianca will do more for the tag titles? Maybe. They'll appear on Raw. But again, it's all about who is next for them. And as much as WWE has tried to put women's divisions, the women's tag team divisions a little bit as not a top priority, but a higher priority than it was years ago, they just don't have enough juice in this. I don't know who's going to win this match. If I had to guess, I do think Bianca and Jade will win. But this is a 50-50 coin flip for me. I just, I like Isla and Alba, but they don't have enough character development right now that you don't know who they are. You don't know why they are the way they are. But I guess, yeah, I guess I'll go Jade and Bianca.
And there really is no juice in this match, unfortunately. And I do like Alba Fire and Isla Dawn. But here's the thing. Let's say they win. What team is next? Like you said, Pure Fusion Collective, they just lost. Just some of these other teams are just teams to me. There's nothing there's nothing collective about some of them.
Mm-hmm.
And Bianca and Jade, I think, won the titles too early.
Yeah.
I think it would be nice to get them as a tag team, after maybe Jade's got some working as a single, but I think that was the plan is to start off as tag team, get Jade acclimated to the WWE style of working and what have you. But at this point, I kind of agree though. I'm going to pick Isla Dawn and Alba Fire to win, but Bianca and Jade won't break up. It'll be just like you said, like a accidental kick, something, a tad askew, and, we get a little bit of hesitation. My thinking is it's got to be Jade has to be the heel if they do split up, right?
I think so. I think she's more of the natural heel. But I wouldn't be surprised if they do make Jade the heel, which I think they should. Her easy way of saying what she did or what she's going to do in the future is, I didn't come here to make friends. I came here similar to Punk. I came here to make money.
I was gonna say, yeah,
I came
CM
here,
Punk, there you go.
to be a star. And it's funny to think that she debuted, at the Royal Rumble, didn't get used for a few months. So really, as a full-time superstar, she's only had since mid-March.
Yeah.
So that's 6 months. So that's still not bad. I mean, she's done a lot in 6 months, but I think, a lot of people thought they were going to strap the rocket onto her. And I think Triple H is smart enough to know if he straps the rocket onto her and for whatever reason, there's one bad match that she has, the fans are fickle. They'll turn on her. So I'm good with the slow burn, but that's her easy way of saying that I'm a heel, that I did this. I, turn my back. It's for me, her being all about me. I think that's a good way for her to separate with Bianca Belair.
Yeah, and I mean that's the thing. It's great to have these women's talents and what have you, but the money is there in a
Yep.
Bianca Jade match. Like these girls are. Charlotte's gonna come back soon. Like the
Hmm.
women's division is just gonna only get boosted, and
Yep.
I want to see more a one-on-one singles competition week to week, month to month. So I'm hopeful that the Unholy Union win, and then maybe we can get some sort of a new tag team in the fray to go
Yeah,
against them because
definitely.
I was more invested in what Jade and Bianca have as singles. So let's get to another interesting tag team match here. I believe that I really wanted this to happen,
Hmm.
and we discussed this as well. What could they possibly do? And I know Labar and I discussed it as well. Everybody pretty much comes to the conclusion that you're not gonna get Dom versus Rhea, at least not yet. Who knows if they'll really pull that off? But until then, this is the next best thing. The Terror Twins, Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley taking on the Judgment Day, Liv Morgan and Dirty Dom Mysterio. Mixed tag rules on this one. I mean, we're gonna see absolutely a riptide on Dirty Dom. You'd have to think.
Yeah.
But anything else here? Is it just as simple as the Terror Twins get a win and they get a big moment as the new babyface tag team here?
Nope. I think they lose. I think the Judgment Day gets
Oh,
involved. I think this is going to plant seeds for the next, PLE, which will be Bad Blood, and even further into Survivor Series. There's a problem with the women's division on Monday night because Liv doesn't really have a challenger, right? Like, aside from Rhea, there's not really anybody else lined up. So for my thought is you're going to see a Damian and Finn one-on-one match because even though there's no leaders in the Judgment Day, Finn Balor's the leader for sure. He comes out, he's the one that is in the front of the Judgment Day, just like Damian was, just like Rhea was. He won't call himself the leader, but as much as this tag team match is interesting, they've done a great job over the past month of building it because of what happened at SummerSlam. Let's remember, at SummerSlam, it wasn't Dominic Mysterio that helped Gunther win the championship. It was Finn Balor. So the bad blood is really between Finn Balor and Damian Priest. If the faces win this, what does that do? That doesn't really do anything for them besides, we got our revenge on half of the people, right? We got our revenge on Rhea
yeah.
losing. So I think at the end of the day here, what you see is the Judgment Day win by numbers. And
the numbers game. The numbers game.
exactly. I think they win because of outside interference. It'll be interesting to see who eats the pin. I don't think Damian should eat the pin. I think Rhea is more bulletproof. But at the same time, there has to be that part of the match where you say, at least Damian and Rhea got some sort of revenge. And I think that some sort of revenge is just like you said, which is a riptide on Dom, where you think they win and the Judgment Day save Dom again. Dom's always going to be that puppy that gets saved, and that's a perfect role for him.
And he'll probably eat a choke slam or 10 as well. And you say Rhea Ripley's bulletproof. I think it plays even more to a future match. If Finn Balor costs them the match and Priest takes the pin, you don't think he would be livid and pun intended.
Sure.
And then Bad Blood, you get that match. It kind of sucks, although Punk and McIntyre is obviously going to be Hell in a Cell, assuming they get there. But it would be interesting to see Finn and Priest in a match like that, although we already saw that with the same group, Finn and Edge.
Yep, at WrestleMania.
You remember Edge, Josh? You remember him?
Vaguely rings a bell a little bit.
What'd he ever do? I'm more of a fan of Adam Copeland.
Oh God, get out of here. I agree though. That's what I thought too. Is like the Bad Blood thing. There is a lot of bad blood, and it's going to be CM Punk and Drew in a cell or stipulation of some sort. You'd assume Hell in a Cell, but this would be a really close second. And I don't want 2 Hell in a Cell matches. That's not what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying. I think there's only going to be one. I think they've learned their lesson from. It's 15 in one night. Like, come on.
Yeah, and what they can do really for this match is one of 2 things: a regular one-on-one match where Judgment Day is banned from ringside, or you can do a street fight. But the street fight again will just be sometimes a little too much outside interference can cost what this feud's really about. And it's really from a year ago when Damian tried to cash in when Finn was challenging Seth Rollins. And 1 year later, here we are where, for lack of a better term, Damian got his comeuppance from Finn. So, but yeah, this match, I have the heels winning. What say you?
I too have the heels winning, and to kind of piggyback, and I know we don't like to fantasy book the future, but look, if you did do a street fight at Bad Blood, I'm in agreement, and there would be outside interference, but Damian Priest, in theory, could call upon, who's he got out there? Bad Bunny, maybe the LWO, something, I don't know.
Not again. No.
Well,
he did bring Carlito back to WWE, I guess, right?
Yeah, true. I think a street fight would serve them well. And look, you're not going to get rid of the Judgment Day, and they're not going to put them in a steel cage. They're doing that gimmick in AEW.
Yeah.
For the steel cage. So, yeah, I have the heels winning this one, which means 2 for 2. We think that the heels are going to take. Well, actually, did you said Bianca and Jade?
Yeah, I said Bianca and Jade, even though that's like 51% for me.
So you're telling me there's a chance.
Telling me there's a chance.
All right. So outside of that, we now have, because what was it, SummerSlam? That was all singles matches?
Yes.
So, yeah, that was bizarre. And now we get 2 tag matches, including a mixed tag team match here at Bash in Berlin. 3 matches remain. We're going to go in order of what I truly think is important. So next up is Cody Rhodes defending the undisputed WWE title against Kevin Owens. They have built this up as, Kevin Owens got this title shot. He kind of didn't want it, but, he didn't want to just be given it. And now it's almost too telegraphed that he is going to really just take Cody to town, take him to task. I think he's going to not turn heel, but this is a title fight. He's a prize fighter. I think you're going to see an edge from Kevin Owens here, and you can call it a heel turn if you want, but I think ultimately Cody Rhodes obviously retains his title here. Where they go from here, I do find interesting. I'm not sure who the next challenger is. What say you, Josh? Do you think Owens, healing it up is really a heel turn if it's against Cody? Because he didn't really want this match to begin with.
I don't think it's really a heel turn, but I think it should be. KO's a guy that's always going to be cheered. He was cheered when he was a heel. The only time that I thought Kevin Owens wasn't getting over with the crowd was whenever he was coming out in suits as the United States champion on SmackDown a few years ago. You remember that? Like, it was not the best gimmick for him. So
no.
And I think at this match, you will see Kevin probably do a couple of cheap shots, a couple of things that you don't expect a face to do. But when you look at the SmackDown roster, the only guy really that I think is a viable opponent for Cody right now that's not Randy Orton is Kevin Owens. And you can only go so far as a friend versus friend.
Right.
So I think Cody wins this. I think how he wins it is going to be clean, but it's going to be more about what Kevin Owens tried to do in the match and him trying to battle his inner being of, do I need to be this bad guy? Do I need to get this edge? Like, what can I do to get back to the top? Because he hasn't been champion for a long time, world/universal champion for a while. If he really thinks that he wants, if he wants to get back to that, he needs to really think, what does he have to do to get back there? Maybe it is getting that edge back to him. And that's something that he's never lost, but he's also, in a way, been very important, but also a detriment to himself because for 2 or 3 straight Royal Rumbles, he was in a match against Roman Reigns, or, for 3 years he was feuding with the Bloodline. So there comes a time and point where you need to find out what his breaking point is. And I think it could be maybe not this event, but maybe the weeks leading to Bad Blood, which I think could be a second match between the two of them.
So you think Cody retains, but you'll end up getting that rematch with a defined heel Kevin Owens at Bad Blood?
That's correct.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting with Cody. I mean, he's had how many title defenses since being champion, and it's been almost too simple. It was so
because you always know he's gonna win.
Yeah,
because of how long they've built his story of winning. There's never a doubt in anybody's mind that he's going to drop the title in 3 months and 4 months and 5 months. And, the only time really that you could think the only thing I like, if they had Randy versus Cody at SummerSlam, which I'm glad they didn't do because I thought would have been very rushed because Randy is super hot right now. That's the only time that I could say maybe he loses, but other than Randy, which we'll talk about Randy here in just a second, there's not really ever a doubt that Cody retains.
Yeah.
No offense to AJ or anybody.
No, but that's the problem, and it's almost the opposite of when Roman was champion. It wasn't, we know he's going to win. It was like, okay, but like he will lose, but like who will that be? Like who could they have? And it, ultimately had to have been just Cody. And now we're getting to the point where I don't think Cody's going to lose for a while, and I'm not sure who that would be. But I think you do bring up a point of Randy Orton potentially being that guy, potentially, getting to where we get that Cena return in 2025, and a lot of different pieces come into play if Randy Orton is the guy to take out Cody. But go ahead.
Let me ask just real quick because I want to talk about Randy and Gunther, which is very intriguing to me. But whenever Roman was champion, in my mind, there was only 2 times, or I guess 3 times, with Cody being the third. There was only 2 other. The third person, Who's the third man? So there was only 2 other times where I thought that Roman could lose.
Okay.
Do you know what those 2 times were?
2 times outside of Cody at WrestleMania?
Correct.
Orton and Logan Paul?
No. I thought McIntyre Clash at the Castle.
Oh, yeah. That was,
And
looking back on, that was almost so early. 2022 was so early for it to happen.
And then the other one was Jey Uso at SummerSlam. Because at that point, if Jey Uso he was popular then, for sure. People were behind him. But if he had the popularity that he has now, that time at SummerSlam, I wouldn't have been surprised if they pulled the trigger on him.
I'm sure they'd have left him off the next PLE.
Of course, he would be gone for 2 months, But anyway, so I digress.
No, that's a good point, though. And it's just, 2 matches for AJ. We had the 6-man with Orton and Owens, and there's your pattern. Owens might get another match, and then maybe you get into that Orton match, assuming Orton doesn't win the match here in a moment we're going to discuss. But Cody, I think, ultimately wins, and it's, I'm sure it'll be a good match, but I'm looking forward to just give me some heel Owens. That I think he plays better that way, and I don't know. Cody's better at as the chase guy, but he's also better as just the face. Like him going against Brock, I like seeing Cody overcome those type of odds. And Kevin Owens as a heel, I think, is very difficult to defeat, given the right match type. So see what happens there. But Cody across the board. I guess we'll close out with a match not for the title because it seems most important. So let's get into the World Heavyweight title match. Randy Orton going against Gunther here. If you all recall, at the what was it, King and Queen of the Ring, where Orton, his arm was kind of up it was in that roll up. It was really, it was never really acknowledged until after the fact. So they are absolutely kind of cashing in on that, as it were, to be like, hey, you've got, this guy who needs a challenger. You have a stake to that claim. Randy Orton really is, I think it's well worth them to pull that off. And now, what is he at? Is he at 15 or 14 world titles?
I think he's 14 right now.
I think he's 14, tied with Triple H. And then Flair and Cena have 16. Yep. So this could be the 15th. I don't think that's the case. But I got to be honest. I think this is going to be a great wrestling match. Randy Orton, I recently watched a review of SummerSlam 2004, 20 years ago, which is crazy. Randy Orton becoming the youngest world champion at the age of 24. And
the salmon-colored tights that he wore against Benoit.
Yes, the salmon-colored tights in Toronto, where, Bizarro World, as they called it, where the fans just cheered everything that they weren't supposed to cheer for. A unique dynamic in '04, but quite the current state of things now, where people just cheer for whatever the hell they want to cheer for.
Yep.
But Orton is, I think LeBar was one of the guys I heard say it. He's like, if you put, a lab together, hey, give me a pro wrestler. It's funny. I would have said if you want a big pro wrestler, I'd have said the lab would have put out Psycho Sid. Mm-hmm. But for the pure, just stature of this guy who looks like a Michelangelo statue, just unbelievable physique, Randy Orton is that guy. And you mentioned it earlier, man. He's as hot as he's ever been, especially in this second gasp, on his career since that back injury really took him out for a while. And he gets a huge main event, pseudo main event against Gunther for the world title. Gunther, the ring general, a great in-ring competitor. Randy Orton's always been very smooth. I think these guys are going to have one hell of a match. I would like to see an RKO and Gunther still kick out. I think Gunther is the type of guy who can eat an RKO and get out of it. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't affect Orton, and it only makes Gunther look more credible and dominant. So I think Gunther wins this thing, but I think this is probably going to be the best match on the whole show. What say you?
Yeah, I mean, I want to say Randy, but again, it goes back to I really think that there's this thing with Triple H where if you're a world champion, you're not getting the title taken off you for at least 3 to 4 months, right? Like Priest was the kind of the guy, the short-term guy for world championships as of late. And thanks to obviously Roman, it, extends what you think of a world champion. But man, I want to say Orton because I do think if Orton wins, it doesn't hurt Gunther. But obviously if Orton loses, it doesn't hurt Orton, so.
Right. And they're not going to take Gunther's title away so soon. That just doesn't seem like WWE in 2024.
Exactly, yeah. If this was, 6 years ago, I could see that happening where they could swap titles back and forth a few times. I'm going to go Gunther, but again, I wouldn't have a problem with them playing hot potato, but I think the stipulation is if Randy wins, then Gunther goes to SmackDown because Randy will be the champion on Monday Night Raw. I think that's what I saw on Wikipedia or something.
That is the stipulation, but if you want to have,
you don't want Gunther on SmackDown.
If you want that Orton Cody thing, they're gonna have to stay on the same brand for now, unless the Rumble factors into that. But
exactly, yeah, absolutely. And I don't see Orton winning the Rumble, and Cody's obviously still going to be champion at Rumble. So I'm gonna go Gunther. I think this will be the best match. I think because of the pure physicality, the fact that these guys are both heavy hitters, but both super athletic, and it's hard to go against Gunther, 4 weeks after winning his first world championship and all the stock that they've invested in him to say he's not going to retain his first title defense.
Absolutely. And I know it's way far away, but I just want to bring it up because we brought it up. So you don't think Randy Orton could be the 3-time Rumble winner, but you brought up Jey Uso. Do you think he has any chance to win the Royal Rumble? Because I think that getting to Cody would be something special. Face versus face, friend versus friend.
Man,
and if not him, who would you pick? I mean, I know it's early, but I always like seeing who do you think maybe under the radar now, but Rumble was where they'd pick it up.
Honestly, I could see Rock winning it.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
To face Cody?
Yeah.
You don't think it's Roman? Oh, it would be Roman and Solo or Roman and Jacob Fatu?
Probably. Yeah. I mean.
So we're never getting Roman Rock?
I don't know, man. I mean, it should be in Vegas, right? It should be there. But I can see Rock winning it based on their last interaction on Monday Night Raw.
Man.
That's still something. And I don't know when you pay that match off.
What? Which match?
Cody and Rock.
I thought it would be interesting if they pull something like that off for the first Raw on Netflix, because that's uncharted territory.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be great. And something happens where maybe Roman costs Rock, and that's when you kind of set up that, and maybe maybe they both enter the Rumble and eliminate themselves. But so if Jay wins, here's the problem. Jay wins, he goes to the World Heavyweight Championship. He's not going to go against Cody. So
why not?
Because man,
Jay being the guy to be like, Cody, we were tag champions, even though it was for a moment. I wanna challenge the best. I think that works as a forgive me, but a Hogan Warrior face versus face, like no one's gonna boo either guy. I think the crowd would probably lean into Jey Uso more in Vegas, but
Yeah.
I just think that would be something, because then you get Roman Rock. I don't see, if
So
Rock
you get
was
Roman
Royal
Rock,
Rumble man,
Cody.
you
Yeah,
should
get
be
Roman
booking
Rock.
everything.
Yeah, you get Roman Rock, you get Jay, Cody, and then you get potentially Punk and Seth for the world. I don't know. It's
Orton,
interesting.
Cena.
I guess so. Yeah, but I mean, for me, WrestleMania has to be Cody and Orton. However you get there, I don't think
think
Orton
that's
has, yeah.
you think that's only fit for Mania? You don't, because I could see that at Royal Rumble.
But like, okay, I think so. But what, like, let me ask you this: like, what big world championship match do you remember that has that much backstory, that has that much steam?
Yeah, I know, but
takes place at the.
I can agree with you, but I don't like the notion that just because it's a deep backstory, it can only happen at WrestleMania. Like I think that's unfair.
It could happen at SummerSlam too, but I don't think they're gonna wait.
Wait a year. Well, you just didn't want it to happen at this SummerSlam because it was too quick. Well, when's the perfect time? Come on.
WrestleMania. That's the perfect time. Because I think ultimately the person who defeats Cody is Randy.
Really? If it's not Randy, do you see anybody else? I'm like Braun Breaker, maybe, like a newer guy.
No, I don't.
Okay.
I don't think it's a newer guy. I think it's somebody that's already established, that Cody loses to somebody that he has a deep-rooted history with. You know. Yeah,
it's all fascinating. I think with the Cena effect, I think they're gonna want to do a legacy match at Mania for him because it's his last Mania match. I don't think he could win the world title there. I guess like he could beat Gunther. You could do Cena Gunther at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And that would be huge. It's 17. It's his last Mania. It's against an unstoppable guy. Maybe and then that would free. I just think Orton would be set for something like that. Orton win the Rumble.
Orton, Cena definitely puts a curveball into creative plans, right? Because you basically do what John Cena wants to do, right? Like he has one, but that's not his last match, though.
No, but it's his last WrestleMania match. So like,
but this is also a guy that at WrestleMania 31 was facing Rusev.
Yeah,
he's not against facing younger guys to help them get over. I mean, hell,
Gunther,
that's a freaking Austin Theory, for crying out loud.
I know that's what I'm saying. I think but I think he's gonna. I think they want to. I've been praising WWE for they took the tag title record from Demolition. They got the Honky Tonk Man record out of there. Roman Reigns had a really long title reign. I think they would love to have Cena be the guy that has the most world titles. I think Flair would have no problem with it. He'd probably be there to hand him the title. They'd probably go all out if they really felt that it was the moment. And to beat a guy like Gunther, I think Gunther wouldn't have a problem with it at that point.
Yeah, well, that's a really good
gonna
point.
Not. I don't think he would have a problem. He's gonna have another world title in his future. So
that's a great point. But let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Who would benefit more in their history?
Yeah.
To be the person who has the most world championships? John Cena or Randy Orton? John Cena doesn't need to be the guy who had the most championships. Randy Orton, for whatever reason, is still second tier to a guy like John Cena because he's never had that crossover appeal. And
he's a wrestler's wrestler.
Exactly. And Ric Flair, for the longest time, was a wrestler's wrestler.
Yeah.
Flair and Hogan, to me, Cena and Orton is the modern day Flair and Hogan. Yeah. Where you talk about who had the bigger impact. I mean, the bigger impact obviously is Hulk Hogan over Ric Flair.
And Hogan,
And then Cena over Orton. But that doesn't necessarily mean in wrestlers' minds that
if you talk to a lot of fans,
Yeah.
If you talk to the fans, they'd say, well, we love Flair more than Hogan. There's more work there. There's more depth there.
We love Orton more than Cena because there's more work in the ring. There's more classic, great wrestling matches.
And so that's why I think feuded with each other. But both those Flair, Hogan, and Orton, Cena both had solid feuds and matches throughout their history.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's pretty interesting. My only issue with that. And I'm sorry we got on this tangent, but this is fascinating stuff. Orton is at 14. He's got to get 3 more before he's done. And
which is like 5 years, though.
You think so? But he just had that surgery where I felt that, he was kind of teetering on maybe hanging it up then, and now he's like back, and I just don't want to assume that he has 5 more years.
True. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
with what we're saying, with they're not treating the title like a hot potato, he might only get to 15 just to just to have more than Triple H. I could see that. I could see Orton with one more reign and Cena with one more, but because I agree. I actually would love to see Orton be the guy, because we just mentioned it. If he was the youngest world champion and then ended up becoming the most reigns, like how awesome would that be? And he was the legend killer. Now he's the legend. Like I think that would really kind of cap off his career perfectly. He has to, you win it 16 times, you lose it 16 times. Like you got to win it and lose it 3 more times within even 5 years seems like a stretch.
Yeah, true. But yeah, I mean, again, it goes back to, what we're saying about, what's going to happen, in April. But here, as we wrap up the Gunther and Orton talk,
yeah,
as much as I don't think Gunther should drop the title, but would it surprise me? No. I think because, unlike Cody, Gunther has a viable opponent that you can honestly say, I wouldn't be surprised if Randy Orton won, right?
True.
Like every time Randy Orton fights, you expect him to win.
Yeah, if he hits an RKO out of nowhere, that's why I said if he hits one, I'd like to see Gunther kick out, because I think if he hits one, it's going to be an assumption like, oh my God, he's going to beat Gunther. I can't believe it. And that's where you swerve, bro. But yeah, I think Gunther's going to win. I wouldn't be shocked. It's crazy to me now that we're talking about it like this, that, with Cody, it's like we know he's not, but he's only been champion since Mania, but that their plans likely are going to go a lot further, than just to lose it at Bash in Berlin. And Gunther, just even a month, I'm like, there's no way he's going to lose, but like he absolutely could lose and then win it back the next show, and it wouldn't tarnish anything. You know,
especially because they gave him 600 days as Intercontinental champion. So he's already developed and established himself as a dominant person, even if he suffers a loss. But yeah, I mean, we can talk about this until we're blue in the face, but I'm gonna go with Gunther to wrap it up. I think Gunther wins, but I think the more intriguing part is who is Gunther's next opponent, and like where does Randy go from here? He goes back to SmackDown.
He loses,
I don't want him to go back to the bloodline again. I'm done with that. I'm over that. I'm okay with not, so they have a really top heavy roster. And there's a big difference between the top heavy guys like Cody Rhodes, like Randy Orton, like Roman Reigns, like, those guys that you expect them to win. But then that second tier, and the second tier for me is people like LA Knight, even Andrade is kind of a little bit below that. Logan Paul, a little bit below that. Those guys that are still not heck, I'll even throw Kevin Owens in there. Nothing to disrespect Kevin Owens, but they're not believable to dethrone champions.
Right. They're great, formidable competitors.
They're great for a backlash match, man.
Yeah. And it's just crazy that we're conditioned now, like as fans, that he's gonna win. He's just gonna keep holding it for a while. Like it's better whenever you don't really know, but I think you brought up a great point. It's like, well, what's Orton do after this? I'm more intrigued with that, and who's Gunther face after this. So we'll get there eventually. But before this conversation leads us another 20 years, ahead of time, let's go to what I think is the most intriguing match. Although I don't think it main events. I would say Gunther Orton main events. Do you think that?
Yeah, definitely.
Because Gunther coming into Berlin as champion, I think it'll be great.
If Rhea and Nia main events Australia,
yes,
and then Gunther and Randy are main eventing.
That would seem. You're right. That's a good point. So CM Punk, Drew McIntyre in a strap match. A lot of famous strap matches in the history of pro wrestling, but this is going to be something. I think you and I both can agree that Hell in a Cell is looming on the 25th anniversary, or not the 25th, the 27th anniversary of the first Hell in a Cell, Bad Blood, in October. Seemingly that's where Drew and Punk will conclude this by then 10-month feud that started, at the Royal Rumble on accident.
Yep.
But that being said, it seems that you'd have to give a win here to one CM Punk. I think the bracelet could be retrieved, and then maybe it's on a pole inside the Hell in a Cell.
Who are you, Russo? Get out of here.
You never know. Seemingly. But but Punk, I think, gets the win. Which Royal Rumble, and then he is commentating. He had a match against Dom Mysterio at MSG, and then he loses his first real singles match. It's time for Punk to get a win, and in a singles match. And I think a strap match is perfect for that. You don't have to get a pin unless you're in WCW, where you forget what the stakes are and you pin the guy and then hit the fourth turnbuckle because no one knows what the hell's going on. But I think Punk gets the win here. I think it's brutal. It's been brutal already seeing Drew get whipped with the strap. So I'm here for it. Punk had a great dog collar match with MJF. I think this is a great match type for Punk. And I'm looking forward to seeing Drew in this element too, because he's a big dude. And Punk's back is going to be gnarly, to say the least. So, Josh, what say you?
Yep. CM Punk is going to win this. I think, I think, for me, CM Punk needs to pick up the win because, like you just said, he hasn't really had that big win. And this is a match that's not going to really affect McIntyre, and he can really go bitch and complain about, oh, man, this wasn't fair, yada, yada, whatever, It's interesting because this match, for me, is still the best storyline, and they've only had one match, and it's been 8 months. And if you do the rule of thumb, for WWE, there's always 3 matches because there's, best of 3, basically. The strap match, I think, is pretty intelligent. If you recall, in 2022, Drew McIntyre lost a strap match against Karrion Kross.
Karrion Kross, is he on this show?
No, he's like Jey Uso. They don't utilize him, but
That's right.
But I think what you said, him not having to get pinned, is a really good way of them preserving Drew being even more pissed off. I mean, I'm almost wondering if they can get creative with the strap, because the strap's around their wrist and the bracelet's around Drew's wrist. Somehow,
I cannot believe that we had a 30-minute discussion on the future of pro wrestling and the history of the World Heavyweight Championship, and now to conclude the show, to conclude the show, you're paralleling that the strap is around the wrist. Therefore, how will the bracelet come into play? This is why you're on the show, Josh. Continue.
You're welcome. And I don't know how the hell they do it, but they're going to do something with it. If the bracelet falls off,
the bracelet just snaps in a million pieces.
But the bracelet, yes, there's something that's going to happen with it, right? I don't know what, but there's something that's going to happen with it. And whether I hate this, I'm not going to say this. Never mind. It's so dumb. It's so elementary. But Punk's going to win. No, I'm not. Punk's going to win this, and I think, like you said, this is match number 2. I think match number 2 of 3 matches are always ones that go. It's going to be physical, it's going to be intense, but it's setting up for the finality. This feud will be bad blood. I do think, and here's my hot take, I do think whatever happens in that third match, they have to split Punk and McIntyre on different shows. And this comes for me thinking, hey, Raw and SmackDown can make trades. They don't have to say, oh, well, we're going to have this guy on Raw, this guy on SmackDown, whatever. But if they really want to make this a finality, because I can't see this feud with Punk and McIntyre on Monday Night Raw. They're both in the building. And after a Hell in a Cell match, theoretically, they're just there and they're not trying to still fight each other. But again, it goes back to January. If you can get a feud from January to October, only 3 matches in those 9 months, primarily because of injury, that's a success for me. I think Punk wins.
And so you think if they do the Hell in a Cell, it wouldn't be a stipulation of like if you lose, you go to a different brand or whatever. It's just
I
like
think it's some
they
sort
would
of trade or yeah.
But what would be like the impotence for that? Like what has to like how would they go like, oh, we can't have him on our show anymore? Like why what serves Adam Pearce to be like, I don't want this to happen anymore? Or would he want someone or would Aldis want one of the guys?
Yeah, I mean that's a question that I don't have an answer to, and I can only correlate it to why did Jey Uso come to Raw? Because he quit SmackDown? You know what I mean? Like, and Cody brought him to Raw. I mean, Drew for what, a week and a half, I think, quit and then came back. So he's like, I'm done. I quit, and then he left. So
yeah,
I don't know if
that's interesting. I just want to know that. And we talk about the draft, and we brought up the first Raw on Netflix. And again, unprecedented times. Raw has been on TV forever, and all of a sudden it's going to be on like the OG streaming site where everybody can watch it live, which is nuts. Like, I really haven't fully grasped that yet of like how big that really is. And I mean, God, I've mentioned him a few times already because this is just what we brought up the last big PLE show, but LeBar said maybe sell out like a stadium or like a huge, like a 35,000 seater for the first. I don't see why not. And that's where you could put a huge match on it. So I want to know though, with you talking about trades, wouldn't like if you're a competitor, don't you want to be on Raw when it goes to Netflix? So like, I wish they had a draft before then, to kind of set up, but maybe that's how they get it is we want to trade some people before that happens. Some sort of incentive like, hey, we'll trade for you and you get a number one contenders match. Like you have a shot to, there has to be some sort of incentive to want to be there. Otherwise, I wouldn't want to leave Raw when it's going to be on Netflix, because you're probably going to be able to say anything.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. And I think, as you see that happening, I mean, the first Raw on Netflix is not going to be Raw specific. It's going to be a super show of some sort.
It will be, which is fine. It's honestly, it's practically a PLE.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
It's 3 hours,
Yeah.
So, but I think it's pretty safe to say that CM Punk gets the victory here. And almost every single match on this card, we're almost more concerned with, okay, but then like what after this?
But then what?
And this is at least a little bit simpler. We, as God willing, and the crick don't rise, Punk and McIntyre will get through this match, relatively unscathed. At least kayfabe, they'll be fine. Before they get that final match, because that pretty much what's gonna take place. We both think, because there's nothing else happening in September, and it's the first week of October for the PLE. So I think it'll just be a straight 4 weeks of TV, which I also find fascinating. What happens in September? Monday Night Football, and you get the toughest task of uphill battles with ratings and stuff. So with this being like the last fall of that, while Raw is still on TV, they're going to want to really hype up stuff. So to hype up Punk McIntyre leading to Hell in a Cell, I think can help do that and boost some ratings as long as they stay on Raw and don't get traded before then. So.
Exactly. Yep.
So, man, 5 matches, the Uber Arena in Berlin. What is it? 1 o'clock start time. I love it, man. Again, another great one. It's great, but it's also frustrating because I love kind of conglomerating with you and watching pay-per-views live or PLEs live in person. But 5 a.m., 1 p.m., 12 p.m., or we just see each other at the stadium at SummerSlam. It can't.
And I'm your Uber driver for an hour and a half trying to go 2 miles. That's a great story for another day. We should do a juice box. Yeah, we should do a juice box episode of like behind the scenes of Juice Springsteen.
I mean, maybe. I don't know how many people would be interested in that, but I do want to posit this. It's funny because, like, what was it? Was the last time we watched the show together Punk returning at Survivor Series?
Yeah, I think so. Wow, yeah.
So we're practically almost coming up to a year of that. I feel like the next time we can get together in person, we should do a pod in person, which would be fun. We don't have to do this over the online airwaves. We put a mic on a table, sit across from each other, and banter like maniacs for an hour.
We also do live 10 minutes away from each other, so that can pretty much happen any week.
Hey, I'm in.
We want to make it special, though, Juice. We want to make it special. I feel you. Yeah, for sure, man.
Yeah, we can come up with something. But yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, this is another big international PLE for Triple H and the regime. Overall, what do you think about this card? Are you looking forward to it? Do you think it's going to satisfy? And ultimately, what we've been talking about, do you think it's going to help build to Bad Blood?
Yes, and oh, hell yes.
All that confidence, really? You don't think there's going to be a misstep? Or do you think there's any surprises on this show, or it kind of just goes off and that's it?
No, I mean, if anything, maybe something with the bloodline happens. I don't think Roman's going to be there, but yeah, I mean, I think this is an interesting spot because the week or 2 weeks after, I guess, is whenever SmackDown goes to USA, so they'll really load that September 13th or whatever it is card. So I think it just goes without, I think we've seen that with a lot of PLEs. Not a ton of surprises, just a really good card, really good pace. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited to watch it, and as always, I appreciate you quenching my thirst with your box.
Anytime, any place. And I did want to mention one quick thing. Do you think there's any chance, because it's international and we don't know, do you think John Cena could show up at this show? He did that random Money in the Bank appearance and got everybody stirred up about a WrestleMania in London. So who knows, right?
Yeah, that's a good question. Maybe, but I don't know. I don't think so. If he's coming back at Rumble, I think you hold that off until maybe Saudi. You might go to Saudi or something and say hey, I've entered myself in the Rumble, yada yada yada, because that's November, I think, right?
Well, he'll be on the first Raw on Netflix too, so it's not like the Raw in Saudi I'm fascinated by that. I can't believe that's even happening.
Wild.
It's very unique. So, but yeah, man, anytime you want to quench your thirst, there's always a spot for your straw. So, thanks to Josh Isenberg for being on this program today. And as always, what's crazy? I did not even mention, this is how great our friendship is and our just being colleagues. Josh, I'm so happy you're here. This is the 100th episode of the Juice Box. I cannot believe I forgot to mention that at the beginning of the show, but thank you for being on the show for the 100th episode, brother.
It's an absolute pleasure. The only thing that I will say is I really wish you would answer some of the Ask Juice questions that we sent over in the group chat last week, but then you would have not made 100 episodes. You would have probably made 3. So to each their own on that.
Exactly. The show would not have gone past 100 episodes, so here's to 100 more. But seriously, man, you've been on every PLE prediction show for the most part, at least on the WWE side, and you're always reliable, loyal, and I'm thrilled that you're willing to come on here and chat with me. So it really is appreciated. So thanks for getting this rickety bolts ship to 100 episodes.
Hey man, I appreciate it. I'm going to go have a brewski for you, Charlie.
All right, and I will be going to a fantasy football draft. So
good luck.
Tis the season. So for Josh Isenberg, I'm Juice Springsteen, and I'll see you guys next week for another prediction show. This time for All Out. But enjoy the Bash in Berlin this week. And until next time, I'm Juice, and this has been the Juice Box. That was the Juice Box with Juice Springsteen. Make sure to subscribe to the Juice Box wherever you listen to podcasts.